Peace, peace. Hope all is well. We're going to get straight into it today. And we're going to be going over briefly how we call on gods on a daily and everyday language and don't realize it. Now, if you understand the importance of words, the power of words, the power of sounds, and the power of vibrations, then I think you'll appreciate this video. We'll be going over about 32, 33 different deities that we call on a daily. A lot of the words we use nowadays has its religious roots in ancient times, and we still use these words. So we're going to go straight into it now. And the first one that we see are the Netchers or Netarus. And this is where your origin of the word nigger comes from. Netchers or Neters mean God, king. Plural, Netarus or NGRS. Now, I could try to pronounce that, but I think I would sound ridiculous. But this is the origin of the word niggers. Now, you got to understand that when the white man or the pale skin or the European came into the picture, their language or their dialect was a broken language. Not specifically, but it had the sound of more of like a Cajun dialect, broken language. So they couldn't pronounce properly. Or you get your Nigers. It all has its roots in African, you can call it mythology if you want to. But this is where, right here, we have the plural of gods, the Netarus. There's many. You have Elohims as well. That's plural as well. But this is Netchers, Netarus, Ungers, I would say. And this is where you get niggers from. So when you have racist people saying this word, nigger, they don't understand because obviously they're coming from a place of ignorance. That they're calling us, and I group myself as kings, gods. They don't understand that, but doesn't mean that it's not true. Now, these are just brief descriptions. I'm giving you brief descriptions on all of them, or else I'd be sitting here for about 2.5 hours doing this with y'all. So we just gonna nutshell it, but I'm giving you the information to where you can go and cross-reference. Now, I had plenty more, but a lot of them just lived on in folktale and mythology. There wasn't any figurines or pictures of a lot of deities. So, I'm going to give you the brief description, and there's plenty I left out. And all you have to do is go cross-reference, go study, see if I'm lying to you. If you been with me, you can study other videos I've done where I've spoken on a lot of these ancient Egyptian deities. And obviously, they're not all going to be on this list of deities that we call on. But you can always just go cross-reference, go check out older videos. And, you'll see, you'll hear me speak on a lot of them. We have Ma'at, Amen-Ra. And that's one that I left out, which is Amen. We end our prayers with Amen, whether it's Christian or whatever. But Amen is African Egyptian God. You understand? Here comes another one. This one is Bat, like we swing a bat or Batman. This is Bat, Egyptian goddess, cow goddess. Cows also representing fertility. You understand? This is a feminine goddess. Excuse me while I handle my business. But this is also something that we say on a daily that we don't necessarily pay attention to, and that's what I'm trying more so to bring to light. Is that we say a lot of things that we don't know the power to. You understand? And it's just necessary to know better. You don't have to remember every one of these. The point is not to have you remember every single one the first time you see this or hear this video. This is more so just to give you an idea of how deep the spell is when we're talking about language. When we're talking about language, we're talking about a whole nother beast, because we use words daily, we speak daily, we write or spell daily, and all this has power. The vibrations, the deities we're calling on a daily that surround us. We might not be aware of it. Obviously, we're not aware of it if we're speaking these names without any understanding. So hopefully you guys get some understanding, and hopefully you appreciate this video, because it took me some time to do this. It's not easy connecting religious etymology to current or modern linguistics. So this is Hathor, or it could be also a representative of Hathor, the cow goddess, the golden, I believe it was the golden calf, or the golden cow. This is bat. We use this word all the time. I go up to bat for someone. The batter goes up to bat. You know? Batman. Simple words. Simple words. But they hold weight. They hold power to them. You dig? You see, she's represented as a female with the horns and the ears of the animal, the cow, if you will. It's just representation. The woman being the origin of creation. It only goes hand in hand that the woman represents fertility. This is bat, and you can also refer to Hathor. There's plenty different representations, but that's bat. I hope you appreciate bat, the queen. The next one coming up on is thought. Thoth, or Toth, or Tahuti. This is where we get our word thought from. I just had a thought. Or for the young generation, the ignorant generation, thought. You know, she had thought. But we just throw out these words without understanding the origins of them. That's the most important thing. And Tahuti, or Thoth, thought, is the god of wisdom, writing, and the moon. So when we're thinking and we have a thought, we write it down and spell it. You understand the importance of Tahuti, at least. He's the god of writing. We write spells. Grammar is its root, or its origin would be grimoire. Now you can look into the grimoire. That's witchcraft. That's Wiccans and all that shit. This is Tahuti. This is thought. This is Thoth. So when you see poets, or you see storytellers, this is the inspiration of Tahuti, or thought, or Thoth, another Egyptian god, or African god. There will be plenty of Egyptian references, but you have to understand why. Africans, or Africa, or Egypt, wherever that you understand Africa as a whole, is the birthplace of the civilization. They cultured the world. They civilized the world, taught the world the sciences. Nothing would be possible as immediate as it has been if it weren't for Africa. We would be stages behind if it weren't for the motherland. So we have to pay our respects to these deities, these actual individuals as well, the ancestors who set in place and set in motion the knowledge or the sciences that we study now, and the sciences that we know now. You understand? So here's, once again, thought, Thoth, or Tahuti. And this is the origin of, this is the quote unquote, obviously, religious historical origin of the word thought. To have a thought, which is the god of the moon, god of wisdom, wise dome, and writing. He's there as well at the judgment of Ma'at. I forgot the proper title for that, but he's there as well, writing down if the heart weighs or not. Now this next one, we're going to get into some deep ones. This is hypnosis, or Greek hypnos. You dig that? And you'll see a lot of, as well, a lot of Roman and or Greek mythological deities. But the origins still hold just as strong. Here we have Hypnos, god of sleep. Now, we're going to go over a couple Greek and Roman ones, but I want you to remember this one. And there will be 2 other ones that I want you to remember as well. Because they're more so of a trinity, if you will. I mean, not in the historical context of a trinity, man, woman, child, but there's 3 of the motherfuckers that I want you to remember pretty much. So just remember him, or it, because, you know, I don't think he actually existed. Hypnosis, or hypnos in Greek, god of sleep. Now, when we go into hypnosis, or we hear about hypnosis, because I've never been hypnotized, I don't think I remember in the first place, but hey, hypnosis, you get in sort of a trance, you understand? A trance state of mind, where they lull you to sleep by different tactics. And this is where we get our hypnosis, from hypnos. He has a brother. We're going to get into the brother as well. That's why I want you to remember this one. You'll see a lot of Greek, a lot of Roman, and a lot of Egyptian. You understand, the Greeks and the Romans stole all their shit from the Africans of Egypt. Or, hell, we even went into Greece and Rome and civilized them too. So a lot of this correlates to the origin of all things pretty much, which is Africa. Or So bear in mind these simple things. Oh yeah, I put in my work this time, y'all. I put in my work this time. I'm giving you, pictures. I'll give you references, cultures, everything. But I'm not going to sit here and explain it in depth and details. That's your job. My job is only to inspire you to want to know more. So, yeah, I have to reiterate that for anybody who might forget that I'm not here trying to sit here for 3 hours and teach you each one specifically, continuously. No, just check them out. I'm putting this up so you can keep it, rewind it, all that. This is hypnosis, Greek, god of sleep, slumber, who also has a brother that we might get into next. I'm not sure. I didn't put it in no particular order, so don't mind that. It's not in order. Here we have phosphorus, and in Greek, it's phosphorus, or morning star, and Venus. That's important to understand, family. Phosphorus is, in Greek, phosphorus. They just put the U and made it an O, and now we say phosphorus. If you look at the last 5 letters, is Horus. Horus, Egyptian sun god or sky god, whatever your understanding of Horus is. Look into that, as well as the morning star. Now, where have we heard that as being a description of a person? I know my family out there understands that point I'm trying to make right there. And this is what we're going to get into. We have to understand words have power, or we wouldn't use words to hurt people or uplift people. Words have definite power. We just have to know better. This video is more so for the people who want to understand language a little better, and as well understand certain deities and gods. This might not be for the religious folks who don't believe in stuff like this. I've met those types. If this offends you in any way, because I know it could, then I apologize, but I really don't. This is the morning star phosphorus. Once again, Isaiah 14:12 applied to a king of Babylon gave rise to the general use of the Latin word for morning star, capitalized, as the original name of the devil. I believe that one character named Jesus had a similar name. Jesus unmistakably identifies himself as the morning star. That's all right. Next one we're going to get into is ran. I ran away. She ran away. This is a Nordic storm goddess, referring to water again. Drags seafarers to the bottom of the ocean to her home. So she's a violent goddess. She's not to be fucked with. If you're on those waters, beware. Be careful. Because this motherfucker do not play. She will take you, your crew, your ship, and sink that motherfucker. Respect the woman. I'm telling you. Respect her. Nordic storm goddess. So this is a more modern goddess, if you will. This is a more modern concept. There are much older depictions of goddesses of the waters, whether it be rivers or oceans or sea. It doesn't matter. There's different depictions. This is more so a more modern concept, if you will. We'll be getting into some older deities or goddesses as we continue this build. I promised this for a couple days now, so I'm bringing it. Told you 3 days ago I was going to do this. Just brief descriptions. And it's funny, and it's important. It's not funny, excuse me. It's important to understand that when it comes to majority of the deities that deal with the waters, they'll be feminine because we all come from our mother's waters, or her womb. So most of the time, majority of the time, the deities that deal with waters will be dealing with the feminine principle. Now, that's one important thing that I might have not mentioned. It's important to understand that these gods and goddesses, if you will, didn't necessarily exist. They're just principles of nature, or what is God. God is, and understand that the word God itself is a more modern Germanic word itself too. But just for conversation's sake and understanding and building information's sake, we use the words God and goddesses to get the point across, to get the understanding on a level playing field. So this is ran. These are normal words that we use on a daily that we don't understand, that we're calling on gods and goddesses time and time again throughout the day. So we have to just understand the words. That's all. And now we'll be getting into Set, god of chaos and other things. When we say the sun set, this is where Set comes. This is the origin or the root of Satan, Setan, Heru, and Set, Horus and Set. They had, and they fought for it. This is where, you get the eye of Horus. It got gouged out in this battle with Set. Osiris, Set, Aset. Look into all of this. This is another Egyptian or African concept. Remember, these are concepts. When we say the sun set, we're talking about the sun, Heru or Horus, whatever correlates to you mentally. had a battle. So in the morning we see the sun setting. That's the battle of the sun god, Heru or Horus. And Set, sunset. It doesn't get any easier to remember than that. Once again, these are all things you can go reference and cross-check. I put in brief descriptions of each. It's up to you to get the information and knowledge fully. When we say the word set, the sunset, this is coming from this story of ancient Egyptian origin. So set, the sunset, set the clock, set your watch, set the time. It's just very simple, people. It's very simple. So we're going to get into it, family. Excuse me my back noises. Excuse me for that. But I got kids and I got to be quiet. Once again, they can be seen and studied. Just pick up a book and check it out. Hope you're enjoying it so far. I'm trying to give you, I'm trying to give it all. I'm trying to give you the game I told you I'd give you. This is, once again, this is Set. It's a bad man. Or a Dieties. Excuse me, because I got to make sure we understand that. Heru versus Set. Heru versus Set, sunset. Here we have sin. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Sin. Now, we were always told that sin is, hurting somebody, lying, things of that nature. We specifically heard it in religious texts or concepts, which I understand for the most part. The religious part, trying to keep people in line, trying to keep people from doing dumb shit. But you have to know these origins. The origin is always important. This is under the Sumerian, Mesopotamian religious concepts. Moon god, a supreme deity. The moon god was the deity of the city Ur, or U-R. He was more than just a city god, the moon god, in the wider pantheon of Mesopotamia. Understand? But this is sin. It's not sin as far as actions. It's a deity. The symbol of the moon god was a bull with the crescent moon appearing. And here we have the moon. The symbolism led to a consideration of the moon god as a cow herd, which is celebrated most clearly in the composition Herds of Nana. They have the ziggurat or temple tower of Nana at Ur, about 2000 BC. Okay? Built out of solid brick. Sin. An association with fertility may come from the moon god's connection to cattle. Now, we just spoke on Hathor and Bat, so we have to understand that as well. From the clear link to the menstrual cycle as well. Fertility. The connection with fertility is demonstrated in the old Babylonian birth incantation. Krebernik, 1993-98. The magical medical text, A Cow of Sin, relates the story of the moon god's beautiful and pregnant cow. Remember the cows. Jimson. Now, if you love music, you love this one. This is Pandara, Hinduism. I believe it's Hinduism. Pandara. And you hear the word as simple as can be, Pandora. And we love music, right? Pandara. We call on these guys, we play the music. On what? Pandora. Now, when it comes to Hinduism and things of that nature, they have a lot of words I can't pronounce. Pandara Vaniyan was a Tamil Vanir who ruled in Vaninadu in the 18th century. Pandara, Tamil Vaniyar, or chieftain, the last king of Vani. Appeared to have paid some tribute to more powerful rulers at the time. Vani functioned as a buffer zone between the north and the south of Sri Lanka. See, I can't get into the linguistics of it because there's a lot of things I cannot pronounce. But this is Pandora. Pandara. Also in Greek mythology was the first woman, according to Hesiod's Diogeny, after Prometheus, a fire god and divine trickster, has stolen from fire from heaven and bestowed it upon mortals. Zeus, the king of gods, determined to counteract this blessing with Pandara. That's in Greek. Pandara. There's not too much on Pandara, but from what I got, this is it. This is a depiction, obviously. It's not actual artifact or anything like that. But we need to know these things too, right? Pandara. All you have to do is pause this and type in what you see on this video. Here we have ocean. Now this one I'm very familiar with, and the Yoruban deities overall I'm very familiar with. My daughter, her middle name is named after one of these deities as well, one of these Yoruban deities. Oshun, or Ocean, river goddess, love and fertility. Once again, we see fertility in the waters and the woman. Most of the time you see any water goddesses, you're dealing with a female aspect. The male aspect is fire. You understand me? Oshun, also known as Ochun or Oxum in Latin, also spelled O-S-U-N, is an Orisha, a spirit, a deity, or a goddess that reflects one of the manifestations of God, and I told you that at the beginning. All these are different aspects of God. They're not to be taken in the literal form and sense. Reflects one of the many manifestations of God in the Yoruban religion. She is one of the most popular and venerated Orishas. Oshun is the deity of the river and fresh water, luxury and pleasure, sexuality and fertility, beauty and love. She is connected to destiny and divination. She's venerated in Yoruban religion, Dahomey mythology, Vodun, specifically Vodun, Santeria, Haitian Vodou, Nigeria, Benin, Latin America, Haiti, and Cuba. You dig that? She served as a princess to King Shango of Oyo. She was admitted to the Yoruban pantheon as an aspect of a primordial divinity of the same name. She is the patron saint of the Osun River in Nigeria, which bears her name. This is dope. I'm sorry, y'all, but this is dope. I was looking forward to doing this whole time. I've just been busy. I'm glad y'all here rocking with me. I put in the work this time. I did all the work. I got all the details and everything personally. I tried to put them into this video because I know my people appreciate this knowledge. And I thank all of y'all. This is Oshun, where we get our word ocean. And we still got more to go. Don't get it twisted. We still rolling, y'all. Here we go. Here we have, I believe, Nike. When we say Nike, we wear Nikes. Nike is a brand. Nike is also Greco-Roman. You understand? What rewarded victors with glory. Greco-Roman. Nike. Now let's talk about her just a little bit. Was a goddess who personified victory. Her Roman equivalent was Victoria. Nike, this is Nike. This is just one depiction of Nike. Understand that. Nike and her siblings were close companions of Zeus. According to classical myth, which was later on, these are all more modern than any African Egyptian deity, so we have to understand this. Styx brought them to Zeus when the god was assembling allies against the older deities. Nike assumed the role of the divine charioteer, a role which she often is portrayed in. Nike flew around the battlefields, rewarding the victors with glory and fame, symbolized by a wreath of laurel leaves or bay leaves. Nike is seen with wings in most statues and paintings, one of the most famous being the winged victory of Samothrace. Most other winged deities in Greek pantheon had shed their wings by classical times. Nike is the goddess of strength, speed, and victory. Nike was a very close acquaintance of Athena, and is thought to have stood in Athena's outstretched hand in the statue Athena located in the Parthenon. Family. Nike is also one of the most commonly portrayed figures on Greek coins. Names stemming from Nike include Nicholas, Nicola, Nick, Nikolai, Nicolo, Nicolay, Nils, Claus, Nicole, Ike, Nikki, Nikita, Nico, and Veronica. So we have to understand these things. These words didn't just come out of thin air. They were here before us. They're created to keep us within the matrix of a spell. You understand, family? So we have to understand our words. We have to know what we're saying. At least just understand that all words have origins, such as nemesis. That is my nemesis. We say that a lot. I've heard that word. I've used that word. It's a very common word. Nemesis, when we say it, the inescapable agent of someone or something's downfall. A long-standing rival, an arch enemy, a foe, adversary, opponent. Nemesis. I mean, shoot. I'm pretty sure most of us know what that means. But when we say it, we got to understand, where does the word come from in the first place? Nemesis, also called Ramnushia, the goddess of Ramnus, is the goddess who enacts retribution against those who succumb to hubris or arrogance before the gods. Another name is Adristia, meaning the inescapable. All of this can be just pulled up on the internet. But if you would have never known this in the first place, you would have never looked these things up. That's why it's important that you listen, you take notes, and you study these things. I'm only here to inspire people to gain knowledge by giving them a little something to run with. I can't just sit here and teach that shit, because if you don't know it, then I'm just talking. But now you can put faces, if you will, with the names or the words we're using. So, that's all I'm here for. And like I said, I looked forward to doing this. I was trying to get my house together so I could do this. Nemesis, divine retribution, is a major theme in the Hellenic worldview, providing the unifying themes of tragedies and many other literary works. Hesiod states, also deadly Nyx bore Nemesis in affliction to mortals subject to death. Nemesis appears in a still more concrete form in a fragment of the epic Cypria. She is implacable justice, that of Zeus in the Olympian scheme of things, although it is clear she existed prior to him. She was here before Zeus, as her images look similar to several other goddesses, such as Cybele, Rhea, Demeter, and Artemis. Nemesis was honored and placated in an archaic sanctuary in the isolated district of Rhamnus, the northeastern Attica. Now here we have ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Can I help you, ma'am? We say ma'am to be respectful, right? And there's not too many. This is one of the deities that lived on more so in mythology, folk tales, and things of that nature. There's not much to say about Ma'am, the Mayan god, other than it represented spirits of the hills, spirits of the earth, or spirits of the mountains. Some were good, a lot of them weren't. So as you see the depiction for earlier artwork, at least, it's represented. You see the ghosts, if you will. Now, obviously, I don't believe that the ancient ancestors depicted ghosts like we do. So I wouldn't say those are ghosts. You see by his head and on his back. I believe they were just depictions. I couldn't tell you what for, but matching that the spirits were usually evil or lower entities. I'm going to say, just for picture's sake at least, that those are ghosts, okay? But you see, that isn't a normal looking person in the first place. It's more so of a skullish look to him. Or it, excuse me. And this is ma'am. We use these words daily, but we're calling on gods and goddesses and deities and all of these things that carry certain types of energies and frequencies when called upon. It's in the tone of words we use, the tone, the vibrations. Each word has a different tone. The doesn't sound like cat. They have different tones and vibrations. So it's very important to understand the spells we speak. Now, speaking in the spells has a whole nother video to do. But right now we're looking at the religious, historical foundation of words. Okay? Or the spiritual foundation as well. So next time we speak, and trust me, there's so many I left off just because I didn't want to be sitting here for 2-3 hours. But there's plenty more. And these are just spirits. We're calling on different entities when we speak, and we have to be very careful on what we say and how we say these things, because we might mess around and call on a deity we ain't got no business calling on. You dig what I'm saying? So here we have Mami or Mammy, Sumerian goddess of the earth, Mother Earth. This is a representation, early Sumerian, Mesopotamian goddess of the earth, Mother Earth. Now, this isn't the earliest representation, but when we're speaking on Mami or Mammy, this is what we're speaking upon. This is what we're invoking. This is what we're calling on. All of these deities and spirits, when we say these words or these spells, this is what we're calling on. All of them that I went over. When we use the word Nike, we're calling on these gods or deities or spirits and energies and frequencies. It's very important. You won't see Jesus on here, even though it could have been up here. But there was no reason to. Because if I'm going to put Jesus on here, I have to put Lucifer on here, because they're one and the same. And this is it. This is Mammy. This is Mommy right here. You see the children. She has a child in her arms. Children everywhere on this picture. Now these two, you see the braided hair. This is a representation. You have to look very closely of a melanated being. We have the children here. A mother. This is a mother. Mother Earth. You see how this works? This is how this plays out. We have to understand symbolism. And I'm going to do another video on symbolism as well. Alchemy as well. I got video ideas for days. It's just taking the time. You got to understand, family. It takes time to sit down, study these, cross-reference, go back into the origins, get the information, study the information, and then put it in a presentable form. It takes work. It takes a lot of book work, a lot of work. And I love it. I love doing this stuff, man. I know my people appreciate it. That's why I love doing it. But this is your mommy right here. M-A-M-I. You can say mammy, mommy. Pronounce it out. It's mom. It's the mother. You feel me? When we call these names out, this is what we're saying. So here comes another one in just a moment. But that's mommy. Say what's up to mommy. You know, if you and your sibling call your mom mommy, this is what she's representing to us. So let's get on to this next one. And let's break this down just a little bit. Just a little bit. This is the origin of the word min. Instead of M-E-N, we have M-I-N, min. Egyptian, of course. A fertility god. And this is also representing phallus worship. When you see Min, you see him most of the time, with an erect penis. Phallus worship was not uncommon, so we have to understand that phallus worship was normal. So is woman worship. When you see fish, that's symbolism of the vagina, the womb, a doorway, womb. So they understood the power of the sexes and the balance of both. Fertility god. Let's speak on men just a little bit though. Okay. 4th millennium BC. He was represented in many different forms, but was most often represented in male human form with an erect penis, which he holds in his left hand, and upheld right arm holding a flail. As Kim or Min, he was the god of reproduction. He was the creator of all things, the maker of gods and men. He was also a melanated man. That goes without saying, obviously. Different symbols for him is lettuce, the phallus, and the bull. Men's cult was centered around Coptos, Upper Egypt, where they held celebrations for his coming forth. His other associations included the Eastern Desert and links to the god Horus. Although not mentioned by name, a reference to he whose arms is raised in the east in the pyramid text is thought to refer to men, M-I-N, not M-E-N. His importance grew in the Middle Kingdom. He was linked with Horus as the deity Min Horus. By the New Kingdom, he was also fused with Amun in the form of Min Amun, Min Amun. The bull of his mother, Min, as an independent deity, was also a Kamutef of Isis. Dope, right? And representation of him would be with the lettuce, which has aphrodisiacs and opiate qualities and produce latex when cut, possibly identified with the semen, the phallus, the semen, reproduction, creator god. You understand the spell right there, the origins of this. Good. Now on to our next deity, which would be Morpheus. We've all seen the movie Matrix. Didn't Morpheus try to get Neo to wake from the slumbers of the Matrix? Morpheus also can be linked with Hypnos, god of sleep. Once you are hypnotized, here comes Morpheus. Morpheus. We remember the movie Matrix, and we remember his role in that movie. This is where they got it from. We see all these motherfuckers sleep, right? And this one dude trying to fight sleep. You see his arm up as in a protection stance, symbolic of not trying to go to sleep and dream, because he understood Morpheus would come. Or Morpheus has come. It's crazy, right? But it's all true. This god associated with sleep and dreams. In Ovid's Metamorphosis, also Morpheus, Metamorphosis, he is the son of sleep, who appears in dreams in human form. Morpheus is one of the 1,000 sons of Somnus, or sleep. Somnus, sleep. His name derived from the Greek word for form, and his function was to appear in dreams. No other is more skilled than he in representing the gait, the features, and the speech of men, the clothing also, and the custom words. Like other gods associated with sleep, Morpheus is winged. You see the wings. Ovid called Morpheus and his brothers the other sons of Somnus. The Somnia. Somnia. Insomnia. Somnia. Dream shapes. Saying that they appear in dreams, mimicking many forms. One called Iselos, meaning like, by the gods, but Phobator, frightener, by men, takes the form of beast or bird or the long serpent. And Phantasis, where we get our word fantasy, who puts on deceptive shapes of earth, rock, water, trees, all lifeless things. Okay, so that's Morpheus. Let's go straight into this. I'm sorry I had to finish that so you'd understand that. Morpheus, remember that. We have, let me see. Where we at? This is Jupiter, I believe. This is Jupiter. Like I said, I'm freestyling. Roman. Pretty much compare him to Zeus. You understand? Jupiter. Jupiter being god of lightning and etc., things like that, of that nature. Most of the planets, Venus, Pluto, all of those, you'll find in Roman ideology. God of sky and thunder, yep. He is known as Zeus in Greek mythology. His brother was Pluto. His parents were Saturn and Ops. His siblings were Pluto and Neptune. He had children: Apollo, Bacchus, Hercules, Mars, Mercury. You dig what I'm saying? This didn't just happen by accident. These words weren't just here. When it comes to our language, we call it English. It's a bastard language, but as well, we are heavily, as far as this corporation landmass called United States of America, we're under Roman, come on y'all, Roman Catholic law. So we're going to have a lot of Roman influence in our language. We're under the spell of the landmass, Jupiter. It's very simple. I mean, if you didn't know this, you would never go out and search it. You understand? So it was up to me, I believe, to just bring this shit to light so you could have an understanding off rip of these words and these spells. That way, when you go study this, hopefully you do go study this, you'll already have a base knowledge for the information. That's all. That's all I'm here for, y'all. I know y'all appreciate it. I know you do. And you know I appreciate y'all. Here we have Ishtar. Yep, I believe that's Ishtar. Associated with love, beauty, sex, desire, fertility, justice, war, and political power. Now, when we look at Ishtar, we already hear the resemblance. But now we got to look at the symbology of Easter. If Ishtar is associated with love, beauty, sex, desire, and fertility, we see the egg. The egg is representation of fertility, right? And love, and sex, and desire. When we say, excuse my language to those who, might be too young or too sensitive, but when they say fucking like jackrabbits, there goes the rabbit, there goes the sex, and then they have the Listen, the rabbits don't even lay eggs. That shit don't even make sense. But this is the representation. It's just representation. It's just metaphorically representation. Ishtar, Easter, eggs. Ishtar. Fertility, desire, love, and sex. These are just brief descriptions, people. This is your origin. A lot of people that I know this. But to those who don't, you're welcome. Ishtar, Easter, eggs, fertility, love, desire, sex. Sexing like jackrabbits. Okay? Did you ever just sit back and think, it's Easter, the Easter bunny. Oh, why do I have an egg? Doesn't make sense. Now, I hope it does. Now with the understanding that it's just information that was taken and then, converted to mean something else. That's what we're dealing with when we deal with Easter or Ishtar. Like I said, I have about 33 of these, and I left out about 20 of them just because they didn't have any picture I could relate to you to get you to understand any of them. So I hope you're satisfied with these couple that I did show you guys. I wanted to show you more, but they didn't have no reference pictures. A lot of them were left in mythology and folk tales. So here's Horus, Here's Horus, where we get our word hours, O-U-R-S, and hours as in time, H-O-U-R-S. They just switched around a couple letters. That's all. That's it. And they gave you hours. Horus. Let's get into Horus just a little bit. He was worshipped the late prehistoric Egypt until the Ptolemaic Kingdom and Roman Egypt. The various forms may possibly be different manifestations of the same multi-layered deity, which it really is, you understand? He was most often depicted as a falcon or as a man with a falcon head. We see him right there with the falcon head. A lot of symbols, a very common symbol was the Eye of Horus. Sorry about that, family. Sorry about that. But yeah, we have Horus, where we get our word hours, where we get our word horse. And yeah, so I really do hope you guys appreciate the information that I'm giving. I hope that it helps out a lot on your path to learn the language we speak, the origins of it, and how we speak in spells on many levels, not just one particular level. This took me about a good half hour, hour and a half to put together just on the information alone. So I do appreciate you guys. We will be getting into a lot. We ain't got too much left. And so, yeah, I'm just going to jump straight into this one. I wanted to let that ride out for a quick second, let you get a good look at what we'll be talking about. Here's Hero, or Heru. Heru, obviously, later on to be called Horus, sky god, sunset, Heruset, sunset, the falcon head, everything. It's all there. It's always there. It's always been in our face. The principles, these are all deities represent is principles of God or nature or netcher or neggers. I just want it to be known. And so we have the falcon head, once again, like I said, representing air. You know, the bird, air. It's all symbolism as well, family. But when we talk of Heru, we're speaking of hero. Okay? One of the oldest gods of Egypt. Sky god, obviously. Remember, once again, like I said, family, these will be, excuse me, simple breakdowns. Simple, brief, straight to the point. This is where it comes from. This is the word that's being used and replaced. It's up to you, once again, it's up to you, family, to go study these things. Now, I'm giving you the meat of it, but you have to go study the whole backstory, cross-reference, all of these things to build the knowledge upon what I'm already giving you. Understand, family? This is, once again, this is Heru. He was a sky god. Translates as distance one or face. Alright? Heru. Counterpart and enemy of Set. Set. Heru Set. Sunset. They were locked in battle, which one would not be won or lost until the world ended and everything slipped back into chaos. The myth evolved. It's a myth. It's all symbolic. Higher self, Heru. Lower self, Set. There's different backstories to the Heru Horus Set mythology, so it's definitely worth looking into. You dig? So check that out. I think it's pretty interesting if I'm telling you the truth. Here we have happy. When you're happy, instead of Happy, it's Hapi, Egyptian, god of the Nile. You understand me? And you see that he's melanated. He's very dark. When you see green, blue, or black, you can obviously see that they're speaking of melanated or black people, quote unquote black people. He's the Nile god, god of water. Happy was the god of the annual flooding of the Nile in ancient Egyptian religion. The flood deposited rich, fertile soil on the river's banks, allowing the Egyptians to grow crops. The Nile is the source of a lot when it comes to the cradle of civilization. Look into the Nile. Just the Nile. N-I-L-E. Nile. Look into that and the impact it had on humanity, if you will. Happy was greatly celebrated amongst the Egyptians. Some of the titles of Happy were Lord of the Fish and the Birds of the Marshes, and Lord of the River bringing vegetation. Happy is typically depicted as an androgynous figure. Masculine and feminine. That's balance. With a large belly and penniless breast. Wearing a loincloth and a ceremonial false beard. There's plenty different depictions. I'm just giving you... Understand, I pulled these pictures up off of Google just to represent the deity I'm speaking on. But there's plenty different variations of a couple of these different deities. I'm just giving you one, just like I'm giving you brief information. The rest is up to you. So understand what I'm doing here and understand the importance and power of what we're discussing today. Since the flood provided fertile soil, Happy, as his patron, symbolized fertility. He had large female breast because he was said to bring a rich and nourishing harvest. Due to his fertile nature, he was sometimes considered the father of the gods and was considered to be a caring father who helped to maintain the balance of the cosmos. Once again, that comes with the androgynous figure. And harmonious system. He was thought to live within a cavern at the supposed source of the Nile near Aswan. Look into Aswan. The cult of Happy was mainly located at the first cataract named Elephantine. Okay? This is Happy, where we get happy. Very important information. Once you understand this, the importance of what we're discussing. Here we have genius. Genius. We've used that word. Dexter's Laboratory. He was a genius. Jimmy Neutron was a genius, I think. But we know, we're familiar with genius. The spirit of a person. And there's no real, once again, especially for this one, genius was more so of a principle. A principle. It stood for something. It wasn't a physical being. Once again, these are deities or representations. So let's talk about genius and what it has to say about genius. In Latin, it means begetter, an attendant spirit of a person or place. In its earliest meaning in private cults, the genius of the Roman housefather and the Juno of the house mother were worshipped. These certainly were not the souls of the married pair, as is clear both from their names and from the fact that in no early document is there mention of the genius or Juno of a dead person. The genius and Juno were probably the male and female forms of the family's power of continuing itself by reproduction, which were in the keeping of the heads of the family for the time being and passed at death to their successors. In this, as in all forms of his cult, the genius was often conceived as appearing in the form of a snake, although he is also shown in an art as a young man, generally engaged in sacrificing. At every wedding, a bed, the lectus genialis, was made for the genius and Juno of the husband and wife, and its presence in the house was a sign of matrimony. Now we can continue with all that, or you can do it your goddamn self. But this is genius. Once again, another common word we have thrown around, or me personally have thrown the word genius around without understanding its significance. Well, now we know. Genius is more the spirit of a person. You know, the legacy of a person, if you will. And this is where we get genius. We're almost done, family. I know it's been a long one, but I do appreciate you rocking with me and taking the time out to learn these word spells, these simple word spells. You dig? So we're going to go on. EA or E. When we play Xbox, PlayStation, sports games for the most part, we see EA Sports. We even hear it, EA Sports, right? But we never have paid attention, at least, to where the fuck this shit comes from. Well, now we know, right? Mesopotamian god, primordial water and wisdom. Who else? Tahuti, or Thoth, god of wisdom, if I'm not mistaken. The god E, or the Sumerian Enki, is one of the three most powerful gods in the Mesopotamian pantheon, along with Anu and Enlil. He resides in the ocean underneath the earth called the Apsu, which was an important place in Mesopotamian cosmic geography. For example, the city of Babylon was said to have been built on top of the Apsu. The Sumerian texts about Enki often include overtly sexual portrayals of his virile masculinity. In particular, there is a metaphor link between the life-giving properties of the god's semen and the animating nature of fresh water from the Apsu. You dig? E is the creator and protector of humanity in the Babylonian flood myth and the Epic of Gilgamesh. He hatched a plan to create humans out of clay so that they could perform work for the gods, but the supreme god Enlil attempted to destroy E's newly created humans with a devastating flood. All this sounds familiar, doesn't it? Real familiar. Because their never-ending noise prevented him from sleeping. But clever E foresaw Enlil's plan. He instructed a sage named Atreus to build an ark. An ark? What? So that humanity could escape the destruction. E helps humanity keep the gift of magic and incantations by preventing Adapa from becoming immortal. This is E. EA Sports. Okay? we have to understand who we're dealing with. It's very simple context, right? The Adapa or Adama is where you get Adam, but you get Atom from Atum. That's Egyptian. But that's for a later, that's one of the ones I forgot to put into this presentation. But if you do want to know about them, just look it up. Amen. We in our prayers with Amen, Amun, Atum, Atin, Atom, Adama. Now here's discipline. Disciplina, Roman goddess. Like I said, we'll see a lot of Roman goddesses, or just Roman deities in general. Under Roman Catholic law, why wouldn't we? She was a minor deity and the personification of discipline, obviously. The word disciplina itself, which is a Latin noun, is multifaceted in meaning. It refers to education and training, self-control and determination, or knowledge in a field of study, and an orderly way of life. So we can understand where or how disciplina was represented. We have to understand the goddess embodied these qualities. She was commonly worshipped by imperial Roman soldiers, particularly those who lived along the borders of the Roman Empire. Altars to her have been found in Great Britain and North Africa. The fort of Calernum was dedicated to the goddess. Her chief virtues were frugality, severitas, or sternness, and faithfulness. In worshiping Disciplina, a soldier became frugal in every way, with money, with energy, and actions. The virtue of the severitas, or sternness, was shown in his focused, determined, not easily dissuaded, and decisive behavior. He was also faithful to his unit, his army, the officers, and the Roman peoples. This is discipline, or discipline. Isn't it funny how all these words we just throw around? Show your kids discipline. To be a soldier, you have to be disciplined. To be mentally strong, you have to be disciplined. To have a ritual way of life, you have to be disciplined. Some may even say militant. You dig? So this is where we stand so far, ladies and gentlemen. I really do hope, because I had fun doing this. And I found it very amazing that there were so many different deities that we speak of daily. Here we have baby, or what some would say as Bobby. You can even say Bobby, baby, Babby, whatever your pronunciation is for this is who we're talking about. Baby. And this is an Egyptian deity represented with the baboon. And this can be found, like I said, you can find this in Egypt. Malevolent, bloodthirsty god. Is a bad deity to mess with. Or Baba, or Baba. You can even say Baba. His name is usually translated as the bull of the baboons, roughly meaning chief of the baboons. Since baboons exhibit many human characteristics, it was believed in earlier times, at least since prehistoric Egypt, that they were the deceased ancestors. In particular, alpha males were identified as deceased rulers, referred to as the Great White One. Since Hamadryas, baboon alpha males have a notable light gray streak. Since baboons were considered to be the dead, Babby or baby was viewed as a deity of the underworld, the Duat, D-U-A-T, Duat. Baboons are extremely aggressive and omnivorous, and Babby or baby was viewed as being very bloodthirsty and living on the entrails. Consequently, He was viewed as devouring the souls of the unrighteous after they had been weighed against Ma'at. Ma'at is where you get your 10 Commandments as well in Christianity, and was thus said to stand by a lake of fire representing destruction. Since the judging of the righteousness was an important part of the underworld, Baby was said to be the firstborn son of Osiris, the god of the dead, and the name in the same regions in which people believed in Baby. Baboons have high libidos as well, in addition to their high level of genital marking. And so Baby was considered the god of virility of the dead. He was usually portrayed with an erection, and due to the association with the judgment of souls, was sometimes depicted as using it as the mast of the ferry which conveyed the righteous to Aru, a series of islands. One spell identifies the deceased person's phallus with Baby, ensuring that the deceased will be able to have sexual intercourse in the afterlife. So this is Baby, or Baby, depicted as the baboon. You understand me? Another Egyptian deity, always dealing with the principles. Always dealing with the principles. The baboon, the animals in Egypt even have symbolic meaning as well, so we have to understand that symbolic meaning. When we get into this next deity, we have to understand who we're dealing with. And as I believe it says, this is best, where we get our word best. We tried our best. Do your best. You can hear the root word best. Right? Always represented as a dwarf. Okay? With his tongue out. So some might say he's a monster. But you have to understand who Bes is. Bes was an ancient Egyptian dwarf god. He was a complex being who was both a deity and a demonic fighter. He was god of war, yet he was also a patron of childbirth and the home, and was associated with sexuality, humor, music, and dancing. Although he began as a protector of the pharaoh, he became very popular with everyday Egyptian people because he protected women and children above all else. He had no temples and there were no priests. However, he was one of the most popular gods of ancient Egypt and was often depicted on household items such as furniture, mirrors, cosmetic containers, applicators, as well as magic wands and knives. Over time, he became to be seen as the champion of everything good and the enemy of everything evil. It seems that he was also known as Aha, fighter, because he could strangle bears, lions, snakes, etc. He's described as a demon, but he was not considered to be evil. On the contrary, he was a supporter of Ra, where we get the word rays from, sun Ra, sun rays, who protected him from his enemies. As a result, he was a god of war who protected the pharaoh and the people of Egypt from evil forces. He was also depicted on knives in the hope that it would extend his protection of the bearer of the blade. And this is Bes. Short dwarf god. Now when you see the dwarfs, they're talking about diminutive black people, or pygmies, which is a misnomer, but that's who they're representing. We know that the Anu pygmies, or diminutive black people, were one of the first people on this planet. So we have to remember that too. DBP, diminutive black people. Here, once again, let me get my paperwork out. Sorry about this, family. Sorry about this. I do appreciate you taking the time. If I'm a little behind, excuse me for that. But here we can see, as far as the representation is concerned, we see the snake. The snake can also be called the naga, where you get nigga. Okay? The snake, the naga, the kundalini, the spine. We're just looking at the representation first. You can already read what it says, but we just want to look at the representation. Just like we looked at Bess being a dwarf, representing the pygmies, we have to look at the snake. And the snake represents the Kundalini. The snake represents Nagas or niggas. The serpent also represents the triple darkness, the primordial waters. Well, here it says, I know you've been reading it already, but chicken, Mayan zodiacal word snake, right? It means snake. It's like Leos and Capricorns and whatever, right? If you were placed in the chicken or Chichen, in the zodiac alignment with the Chichen, it was represented as the snake. The snake also means eternity, infinity, but it also represented in Mayan culture the rain gods. Okay, now I told you, when we look into waters, fish, etc., we're dealing with fertility, things of that nature, procreation, and things of that nature. So I haven't studied Mayan zodiacs in depth, but I already understand symbolism and I understand history. Okay, so when you see this snake, you're dealing with eternity or the triple darkness. Now when you see it in a square, you're looking at carbon. You understand what I'm saying? So already we have the darkness of the snake representing triple blackness. We have the square that is formed in representing carbon, and the lightning bolts or the electricity this represents as well is dealing with the light. Now if we do this alchemically, we're dealing with square, circle, and triangle. Just alchemically, symbolism. We don't see a triangle, I understand that, but let me break this down. The snake represents darkness. Okay, just do this simple. The square represents carbon, and the lightning or electricity represents light. So darkness, light created carbon, man. This all symbolism in that picture alone. Now here, we can see that we're dealing with a knockoff. When we're dealing with a knockoff, we're dealing with dyke. We know gay girls have been called dykes. This is Greek. Justice and the daughter of Zeus. She represents justice. This is a knockoff of Ma'at, seeing as Ma'at were thousands of years before the Greeks in general and the Greek ideology of Dyke, the goddess. Ma'at is represented with the balance, the balancing scale. And if you look at this one, one's higher than the other. When you go to court, you'll see that one's higher than the other. Also, you can see the symbolism of the Statue of Liberty right here. Okay? Now, when you see the scales, it's supposed to be balanced. That's called justice. Right? Ma'at, you would have a feather on one of those scales and the heart of a man's good deeds and bad deeds, represented by a heart. If it was balanced, you were okay. If it was uneven, I admit, admit, has its origins in the word, in the deity of Egypt, Amit, A-M-M-I-T. Amit and admit. This is Dyke, daughter of Zeus and representation of justice, yet she has uneven balancing scales. Okay? We have to remember these things. Everything has an origin, a place, and this is theirs. It seems like I'm a little behind. It may be my program I'm using, but if I'm on point, I'm on point. Either way, when it pops up, you know what I'm talking about. This is Dyke. Okay? Dyke, being Greek, obviously. We've said the word plenty of times before. You know, we're familiar with this word. But when we're talking about where these words come from, we're talking Greek mythology, referencing Dike at least. Goddess, personification of justice, order, judgment. She's the daughter of Zeus. Her Roman counterpart is Justitia. All right. Now, when we're looking at Dike, excuse me, family, we see the scales of Ma'at, or the balancing scales, if you're not familiar with Ma'at. The balancing scales. Those scales are supposed to be balanced. The origin of this is Ma'at. Once again, Egypt, Africa, predates Greek, Roman by thousands of years. So that's Dike. You have to understand Dike. Knock off Ma'at. This is Aphrodite. Aphrodisiac. Aphrodisius is the place. Is a place. Aphrodite, ancient Greek goddess of sexual love and beauty, identified with Venus by the Romans. She's said to have multiple lovers. She was a freak. That's what she was. Seeing as she's worshipped for, fertility, love, sexuality, it's only right that she's a freak. It makes sense that she's a freak. She had multiple lovers while being married. Aphrodisiac gets you in the mood. Now, I know a lot of us will be familiar with Aphrodite, or at least seen her in a movie or something like that, so we're familiar with the word. But many of us don't understand the depths of it, They were so entranced by this girl, supposedly, that they had a specific location called Aphrodisias. Aphrodisias was pretty much the place of worship, if you will. Small Hellenistic city, right? Western Anatolia or Turkey, and it was dedicated to her. It was named after Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, sexuality. According to the Suda, a Byzantine encyclopedia, before the city became known as Aphrodisias, 3rd century BCE, it had 3 previous names that I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I would sound ridiculous. Right? Excuse me. Aphrodite, being sexual, plenty partners, she was a freak. That's what she was. Let's call it for what it would be called today. She was a fucking freak. She got down. You know what I'm saying? Many gods believed that her beauty was such that their rivalry with her would spark a war of the gods. Despite a marriage to Hephaestus, I could be pronouncing that wrong, she had many lovers. She was a freak. Okay? That's that. Aphrodite. This is where we get these words, aphrodisiac and such. I can't help it. I cannot help it. This is Aether, or ether. Primordial god of light in the heavens, or the upper air. Represented as light. That's the physical representation right here in this artwork. This is all the pictures pulled off of Google. When you type in the names of these people, you'll probably find most of these pictures. I just need a representation so you can understand that they actually have a representation of the words that we use every day in their gods or deities or aspects, principles, This is Aether, This is Aether or ether. He embodies the pure upper air that the gods breathe, as opposed to the normal air breathed by the mortals. Okay? God of light. Aether was supposedly the son of chaos, and Caligo, or darkness. Hyginus, the Roman mythographer. Hyginus, shit, you hear a word right there. What's the word you hear? Yep, hygiene. See, we have words in our language. You gotta understand the language once again. It's just bastard language. We're under Roman Catholic law, so a lot of the Roman side of this culture heavily influences everything we practice. Words, spelling. So we have to understand the words we're using so we can understand the power we are invoking with our tones and vibrations when we use these words. The power of words are just as powerful as the power of thought. Thoth, Tahuti, Jehudi. You feel me? I hope you do, because I'm having fun. I appreciate this. Because you guys give me ideas, you dig? And without that, I wouldn't have no channel. I would have a lot to talk about to nobody. So I hope you got your pen, your pad, your paper. Hope your phone ain't about to die on you. You know? Aether. Nas got a song against Jay-Z called Ether. We know Ether in general, but we just use these words just crazy. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Sky God. Blue Ether. Okay? God of light. You see him lit up, right? Here we have epidemic. We say this word all the time when referring to breakouts of like diseases or something. Or in this day and age, dumbassness and bitch-assness. It's an epidemic. It's an epidemic. Sudanese war god. So let's break them down just a little bit. Was a lion head god warrior, worshipped by the Moradic people inhabiting Nubia. We know the Nubians. A number of temples are dedicated to this deity, known from the western Butana region, Naka, Meroe, Muswata, Sufra, which was his chief cult palace. Okay? So let's look into him just a little bit. Just a little bit. Epidemic was called the Lord of Royal Power in Nubia and in Kush. The royal throne was always depicted as a lion. Epidemic originated in the Meroe region and had its main cult centers near the sixth cataract of the Nile River. There goes the Nile again. The importance of the Nile. A good book, I believe it's called The Nile Valley Civilizations. I could be wrong. By Dr. Ben Yosef Jochanan. Very, very, very intelligent man. One of my teachers, somebody I studied heavily. Interestingly, inscriptions at Muswarat el Sufra are in hieroglyphs, not in Mareotic script, indicating a close link with the Egyptian religion, although epidemic was unique to Nubia. Don't let that, how they put that, influence a separation. There was no difference of peoples. They just were in different places. Don't get it twisted. At Naka, walls are filled with relics of epidemic together with Egyptian deities, forming a triad with Isis and Horus. Epidemic is also represented together with Hathor, cow goddess, and Amun, or Aman, or Amen. Okay? There are great similarities between epidemic and Mahis, an Egyptian god, who also represented a specific religion dimension in the oasis of the western desert. All right? Epidemic. Next time you hear epidemic, you know where to correlate the word from, the origin of the word, the religious, historical origin of the word. Yeah. And here we have Angus. How many times have we wanted an Angus burger and shit like that? There go your Angus. You know who Angus was? Angus was a player. Simply put, he was a player. He was good with the girls. And then he fell in love. But he's a player. Angus, son of the Dagda and Bion, goddess of the river Boyne, is the love god of Irish mythology. Angus means true vigor. Angus, the god of love, usually depicted with 4 bright birds hovered over his head. The birds represented his kisses. He brought love, singing into the hearts of any maiden and youth. So when you injure like a love letter with XXX, that's Angus representing his kisses. Even writing, we even write the spells because we have to write the words we speak, which is a spell. A spell cast by the Dagda caused Angus to be both conceived and born on the same day. Hence, he is known as the archetypal youth. According to myth, Angus was Diarmuid's guardian from the Tuatha. He offered the safety of his protective cloak to both Diarmuid and Grain in their attempt to escape Finn and his men. Irish folklore. Angus fell in love with a woman he had seen in his dreams. He asked Bion and Dagda, or his mom and dad, for help. They called for aid from the children of Lur. So pretty much, he was good at, getting girls to fall in love with him. But then turned around and was in love with a girl of his dreams. The irony, right? So we have Angus, Irish mythology, god of love, youth, and poetic inspiration. So he was good with his mouthpiece. He might have took your girl, bro. He might have took your girl. Him and Aphrodite, whoa. That's all I'm saying. This is abandonness. Where we get our word abandon from. Abandonness was a name used to refer to a Celtic god or male spirit worshipped in Godmanchester in Cambridgeshire during the Romano-Celtic period. There's not much more to this one, Like I said, some of the deities, I left out plenty because some of them only remain through, once again, myth, folk stories, whatever. Only one shrine has ever been found, and it just referred to abandonness. That was pretty much it for abandonness. I'm trying to check in my notes as I do this with you guys, just to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Yeah, he's a mystery from a single inscription. That's it. Specifically, an inscribed bronze votive feather is dedicated to him with the text to the god Abandonnus. Vaticus gave this from his own resources. That's it. Some believe that he was associated with the river, although Celtic river deities were almost always female. So that was pretty much unlikely. He might have been associated with a local spring, Perhaps. Others have suggested that it's related to Mabon, a more popular Celtic deity, though it seems unlikely. Abandonist and Mabon have linguistic characteristics that make this theory possible. But other than that, yeah, that's that. Abandonist. Abandoned. This is just, giving y'all something to study, something to really look into, and something to really understand the power of words. Because it's not just on a religious or spiritually based spell that we're under. It's also in a mental game. It's ignorance. It's a lot of it's various things. But I appreciated this. I had fun doing this. I really hope you guys do appreciate this as much as I appreciated it. And with that being said, there's a lot of shit we don't know. And there's a lot of things we can do to change that. But this is your man King saying peace when we're together, chaos when we're not. Pick up a book, gain some knowledge,